One of the questions that we get at Securiix quite often is how to secure cloud infrastructure. This is a very in-depth question depending on the environment and the requirements for that cloud infrastructure. Because you can have different services from a cloud environment, like infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service. It really depends on what type of services you require from your company to start. But when it comes to securing the cloud environment, there's a lot of different components that an organization has to consider. Data classification, in our experience, is the priority. Understanding where your data is, what type of data you have, the criticality of that data, as well as categorizing and labeling that data, allows Securiix to come in, take a look at the data flow, how data comes in, how people access that data, if they're able to store that data, and by knowing that data flow, know where to inject specific security controls. With that information in mind, now we need to take a look at rights management and access control. For rights management, many different cloud infrastructures have a folder structure. This folder structure is the hierarchy, and it basically shows how the environment is broken up into different projects or into different areas within that cloud environment. Making sure that the appropriate rights management is applied to those different folders, to those different areas of the hierarchy is critical. Once the rights management hierarchy has been established correctly, you now need to worry about access control. And access control for cloud, because again, this environment is really outside of your organization's direct control, you must make sure that you're using a zero trust model. The Zero Trust model ensures that anyone accessing your environment, from secure remote login to just everyday access, the way data flows, application access, etc., is always challenged, and there's always some kind of access control going on every time any entity tries to access data into that environment or from that environment. Again, multi-factor authentication is something that we should always consider. The more defense in depth when it comes to access control, the better. Some other aspects in regards to access control should always be looked at in the least privilege principle. Any person or any entity should only have the required access that they need in order to perform their business function. So ensuring that this least privileged principle is in place is a critical component to cloud infrastructure. Again, simply because of the fact the direct access to the infrastructure is really outside of your hands. So you want to make sure that you have that additional control when it comes to people accessing, or entities or systems accessing the data within your environment. When it comes to the actual data within the environment as a part of this access control solution, we'll also have to talk about encryption. Encryption can be handled in 3 different states: data at rest, data in transit, and data in use. For data at rest, it simply means data is being stored somewhere within your cloud infrastructure. For data in transit, data is moving within that cloud infrastructure. And for data in use, it means that the data is actually being utilized by an entity at some point and still remaining encrypted. Encryption is critical to make sure that your data, if somehow accessed inappropriately, stays in a state that cannot be read by anyone else except for those who have the proper encryption keys. At Securiix, we are able to help you with these data encryption strategies, whether it be in use, whether it be in transit, and whether the data is at rest. There are multiple solutions to look at for encryption, which we'll also cover in another video. Some of these core concepts that we have covered today are really the foundational component: rights management, access control, and again, data classification, prioritization, and just understanding where that data is in regards to how data flows into and out of your cloud infrastructure. This is really the first aspect or the first part of helping to secure a cloud infrastructure, and we'll look more into that into the second part of this response.